Those sounds, those sparks, that feeling, more than just fancy dressing. It's a declaration. It's that split second of truth where a killing blow becomes your perfect opening. It's the feeling of turning an enemy's immense power against them. And it's one of the most addictive feedback loops in all of gaming. And I've fallen down that rabbit hole all over again thanks to the newly released Wuchang Fallen Feathers. I was trying every weapon I could find. Spears, dual blades, you name it. But I kept finding myself drawn back to the simple longsword. I had to ask myself, why? What was the magnetic pull of this one weapon over all the others? And then it hit me. That one, perfect, incredibly satisfying moment. The clang of steel, the shower of sparks, the split second where an enemy's deadly attack becomes your perfect opening. It's a feeling that's both a shield and a weapon. It's an adrenaline rush. The parry was so satisfying it made every other playstyle feel less engaging. And it got me thinking. That single perfect moment of timing is the result of decades of game design evolution. So where did it even come from? How did the parry go from a simple defensive move in a fighting game to the core of an entire combat system like the one I couldn't put down? And what is the secret sauce that makes a good parry feel so, well, good? Today we're retracing the history of one of gaming's most skillful and rewarding mechanics. This is the evolution of the parry. To understand the parry, we have to go back to the foundations of fighting games. In these early titles, defense was often a binary state. You either blocked or you didn't. Games like Street Fighter II and Mortal Kombat primarily featured blocking to mitigate damage. But even back then, the seeds of something more intricate were being planted. One of the true pioneers was 1994's Samurai Shodown II. It introduced a dedicated, high-skill deflect maneuver that, if timed perfectly, could completely disarm an opponent and leave them wide open. This was a massive step forward, but the mechanic was truly immortalized a few years later in Street Fighter III, Third Strike, thanks to arguably the most legendary moment in competitive gaming history. Evo Moment 37.
Rare footage of Daigo actually angry. Justin's turtle style. Overcome Rao. Now on the verge of putting Daigo down 1-0. Let's go, Justin!
This wasn't just blocking. It was a frame-perfect series of deflections that could turn an opponent's ultimate attack into a game-winning comeback. A successful parry required precise timing just before an opponent's attack connected. The reward? 0 block stun, the ability to immediately counter, and a massive shift in momentum. The idea of perfectly timed defense wasn't confined to the 2D fighting arena. Action and adventure games began to incorporate similar mechanics. In The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, Link could deflect certain projectiles with his sword or shield if timed correctly, turning the tables on ranged enemies. And then, a game came along that would kickstart an entire subgenre built on high-stakes combat, Demon Souls. Here, the parry was forged into the legendary risk-reward maneuver that would define a generation of action RPGs. Armed with a small shield or buckler, a perfectly timed block would deflect an enemy's blow, staggering them and opening them up for a devastatingly powerful riposte. It wasn't just about negating damage, it was a test of nerve, a commitment to mastering enemy timing to create your own brutal opportunities. These examples demonstrate the core appeal of the parry. That active participation in defense can be just as rewarding as a well-executed attack. The next major evolution came with the understanding that a successful parry didn't just need to negate damage, it could be a powerful offensive catalyst. Games like Bayonetta introduced witch time.
Bayonetta's enemies may think they've got her cornered, but by dodging their blows at the last second, she can snatch back the advantage and decimate enemies too slow to fight back.
Triggered by a perfectly timed dodge, which, while not strictly a parry, serves a similar function of rewarding precise timing with a significant offensive window. This philosophy of aggressive defense was arguably perfected in FromSoftware's masterpiece, Bloodborne. Here, the traditional shield was often replaced with a firearm. A well-timed gunshot just as an enemy attacked would stagger them, opening them up for a visceral attack that dealt massive damage. It's a system that, on paper, sounds completely absurd. You parry a giant werewolf's claw with a tiny bullet, but in practice it brilliantly forces players into a more aggressive, offensive mindset. In modern gaming, the parry has become deeply integrated into core combat loops, often forming the backbone of strategic encounters. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, is perhaps the prime example of this. The entire combat system revolves around the concept of deflection. A precisely timed block that not only negates damage but also builds up an enemy's posture bar. Breaking an enemy's posture leads to a visceral death blow, fundamentally changing how players approach combat. It's not just about dodging and attacking, it's a rhythmic dance of attack and deflection. Of course, there's another sound every Sekiro player knows intimately. Yeah, that one. The sound of your soul leaving your body. We've all been there. Similarly, games like Sifu utilize parries to build structured damage on enemies, leading to guard breaks and vulnerability. Even in games with more traditional health bars, like Ghost of Tsushima, mastering the timing of different enemy attacks for perfect parries is crucial for survival and efficiency in combat. This integration has become so fundamental that the parry is even breaking the boundaries between genres. A perfect recent example is the RPG Expedition 33. The game is fundamentally turn-based, a genre traditionally about strategic menus, not reflexes. But when an enemy finally takes their turn to attack, you have a split-second, real-time window to parry their blow. It's a brilliant fusion that demands both strategic foresight and visceral, in-the-moment skill. It proves the modern parry is no longer just a reaction, it's a strategic decision, a calculated risk that can dictate the flow of battle, even when it's technically not your turn. So we've seen how the parry has evolved, but what is it about these modern parries, that secret sauce, that makes them one of the most satisfying actions in all of gaming? A huge part of it is the sound. A weak block might give you a dull thud, but a perfect parry needs a definitive audio confirmation. There's no better example than Sekiro's. That sharp, resonant clang of steel on steel isn't just a sound effect. It's a musical note in a deadly rhythm game. It cuts through everything. Contrast that with Bloodborne's gun-parry. The loud boom of the firearm followed by the visceral sound of the enemy staggering. Both are completely different, but both give you an unambiguous, "you did it" signal. Then there's the visual and physical feedback. A great parry needs to look and feel impactful. Again, Sekiro's huge shower of orange sparks gives you an explosive visual reward. The controls are tight and responsive, just perfect. It's a trifecta of sensory feedback, sound, sight, and touch, all firing at once to tell your brain, that was perfect. That was fucking awesome. But the final ingredient is the gameplay payoff. All that sensory feedback is amplified because you know what comes next. The enemy's attack is stopped dead. They recoil, their animation broken, their power momentarily stolen. For a brief moment, you have total control. That feedback loop, the sound, the sparks, the stagger, is what gets its hooks into you. So how exactly does the parry elevate the strategic depth of a game? Firstly, it forces players to engage with enemy attack patterns on a much deeper level. Instead of simply creating distance, you have to learn the tells, the timing, and the rhythm of your opponents. Again, there's no better example of this than Sekiro, where the entire combat system is a rhythmic dance of learning an enemy's combo strings to deflect them perfectly, where understanding the specific windup of each attack is the key to survival. Secondly, it introduces a significant risk-reward element. In Demon's Souls, a missed parry likely means near death if not instant death, but a successful one opens your enemy up for devastating ripostes that can end a fight in seconds. That incredible tension, the gamble of it all, is what makes it so thrilling. Thirdly, the parry often encourages aggressive play. While the parry in Dark Souls might encourage you to wait for a specific opening, a game like Sekiro demands you stay in the enemy's face using their own aggression against them. You're not just defending, you're actively pressuring them by deflecting. This provides profound confidence, letting you stand your ground and dictate the pace of the fight. Finally, the parry creates a skill ceiling that rewards mastery. The more proficient you become in any of these games, the more control you have over the battlefield. That feeling of invincibility when you perfectly parry a terrifying boss. The flow state you enter when deflecting a long combo in Sekiro. That feeling of near perfect control. It all stems from the same place, a sense of accomplishment earned through mastering one of gaming's most demanding skills. From its humble beginnings as a defensive technique in early fighting games to its modern iterations as a core strategic pillar in action titles, the parry has undergone a remarkable evolution. It's a testament to the ingenuity of game designers in creating mechanics that are both satisfying to execute and deeply impactful in gameplay. The parry is more than just a button press. It's a skill that demands precision, understanding, and a willingness to engage with the intricacies of a game's combat. And for me, this whole deep dive kicked off because I couldn't put down the Longsword in Wuchang. And now, after all this research, after analyzing every clang and spark, I've come to a profound conclusion. I really need to go play Sekiro again. If you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more explorations into the fascinating world of game mechanics. Thanks again.